Chapter 13. No closure, just truth. For a long time, I chased closure like it was the finish line to my healing. I thought if I could just have one more conversation, one moment to explain myself, to hear his voice, to say everything I had left unsaid, then I could finally move forward. I waited for that conversation, rehearsed it in my head 1,000 times. I even imagined what I'd wear, where we'd sit, how I'd look him in the eyes and tell him everything. But that conversation never came. And when he passed, I realized it never would. It's a strange thing to have so much to say and no place to say it. To carry words like prayers, floating in the air with nowhere to land. I wanted to tell him that I saw things differently now. That I understood why we didn't make it. That I finally recognized my part in the pain. I wanted to tell him that I didn't hate him. That I never did. That even through the silence and distance, I respected how he never turned bitter. I wanted to thank him for his gentleness, his consistency, his ability to show grace even when I gave him every reason not to. But most of all, I wanted him to know that I had changed, that I was no longer the woman who left everything unfinished and broken. But death closes the door on closure. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't care about what you meant to say. It just ends things. And it leaves you to make peace with the echoes. For a while, I let that lack of closure keep me stuck. I believed I couldn't fully heal until I had completed the conversation that had haunted me for years. I thought I needed his forgiveness to move on. I thought I needed a final moment of clarity between us to set my soul at ease. But the truth is, healing doesn't come from closure. It comes from truth. And the truth was, I had hurt him. I had made decisions that fractured a family, that tore open wounds neither of us were ready to face. I had looked for love in the wrong places when I had it in front of me. I had drifted so far from who I wanted to be that I became someone I didn't recognize. But the truth was also this. I was growing. I was no longer her. I had begun the long journey back to myself. And that journey didn't need to wait for a final goodbye. I stopped chasing closure and started telling the truth. To myself. To God. To the people still in my life. I stopped trying to perfect the narrative. I stopped needing someone to validate my version of the story. I stopped waiting for peace to come from someone else's voice. And in that shift, something powerful happened. The truth started setting me free. I didn't need to rewrite the past. I just needed to own it. I didn't need to make excuses. I just needed to be honest. I didn't need his permission to heal. I just needed to believe I was still worthy of healing. I began speaking my truth out loud, not to defend myself, but to release myself. I told it in journal pages, in prayers, in soft conversations with the people who never left. I stopped trying to edit the pain and let it live beside the growth. Because healing isn't about having all the answers. It's about making peace with the ones you'll never get. And that's what I did. I laid down the need for a final talk. I released the fantasy of perfect reconciliation, and I embraced what was left. A raw, painful, honest truth that still had room for redemption. No, we didn't get to sit down and make peace face to face. But in my heart, I believe the peace still came. Because sometimes healing doesn't require closure. It requires courage. The courage to forgive without being asked. The courage to grieve without permission. The courage to keep growing when the door stays closed. And now I no longer wait for closure to come from the outside. I carry it within me, not perfectly tied with a bow, but in truth, in ownership, and in love.